YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
Tonight, a desperate plea from passengers trapped on board a cruise ship.
What's happening right now is very real for all of us here.
Where a suspected Hanta virus outbreak has left 3 people dead and another in intensive care. The ship, now docked off the coast of Africa, has 149 people on board, including at least 3 others who the ship's operator says require medical care. For now, nobody is being allowed off the boat.
We're not just headlines. We're people. People with families, with lives, with people waiting for us at home.
Hantavirus is usually spread by rodents. It's the same disease that killed Betsy Arakawa, the wife of late actor Gene Hackman.
There's a lot of uncertainty, and that's the hardest part.
It's unclear if the passengers on this ship were infected on board or before getting on. And while rare, there is a variant that is transmitted human to human. It's typically found in South America, which is where this cruise ship originated 3 weeks ago.
In the very rare case of human-to-human transmission, it does require direct contact with human bodily fluids.
As the ship's operator figures out next steps, everyone on board is stuck waiting and hoping the virus is contained.
All we want right now is to feel safe, to have clarity, and to get home.
And what we can tell you is that all of these people are going to undergo a medical evaluation to see if they are presenting with any symptoms. If any of them are presenting with symptoms, the WHO has told us that they could potentially be quarantined for up to 2 months.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. I'm sure you have all heard about the Hanta virus outbreak, which of course, as always, is directly out of a movie, and you could see the ridiculous acting in that clip. And of course, I say acting, and people say, how could you say that any of them are acting, that this is real? Well, of course, you even hear them in the verbiage that they use. They try to convince you that this is a real situation. This is the real deal. Of course, that's another way of subliminal mind control, because they want to make sure that there's no penetration to your actual brain when it comes to questioning the news and these news stories. But a very easily can be faked. And we know that they can pretend that a cruise ship left a certain dock and it was out to sea and all these characters were on board, and we got that one specific character who was crying and who just happened to be so emotionally upset, who wanted to convince you he was really on the boat. And this is all, again, about controlling the masses, controlling the minds of the masses, manipulating them into living in fear, and of course, eventually getting them all to consent to be vaccinated. And of course, wanting you to be vaccinated as well is a big part of all of this, as you'll see and have seen in the past, where these hive-minded sheeple can't get it through their heads that the definition of a vaccine is supposed to make you immune to a disease, so you shouldn't care at all if anyone else is vaccinated or not, that you would be perfectly protected. But they're so unhinged and so insane in the year 2026 because of overconsumption of media, overconsumption of propaganda, and believing everything they see, which again only comes through the eyes of the tell-lie vision and other forms of media. So the cruise ship at the center of the suspected deadly hantavirus outbreak refused permission to dock. I love how they even shown Gene Hackman, who I broke down Gene Hackman's death and his wife's death on the website back when that occurred, how they tied that in nicely with a little bow with the hantavirus. And of course, this cruise, as we all know, they always leave their coding, and it was a 33-day Atlantic Odyssey cruise. So it was a 33-day cruise. That's really all you should know. But of course, most people will overlook the number 33, how it's constantly used by these Freemasonic demons who create these false news stories of course, creating a control grid system that we're all living in under full mind control. But 33 you'll find in almost every single psychological operation that they create. And it's just way too difficult for these people to wrap this around their minds that they can fictionalize the news for control of the minds of the masses. They can easily show you a picture of a ship, which they can take B-roll footage from stock websites that give you stock footage of a ship out at sea, put it on the news, and tell you that this is the ship where these people were. You don't need to see any evidence of them on board because they give you some guy who makes Instagram videos who's a world traveler crying on a cruise ship, telling you to please believe him on a cruise ship, and then your brain automatically believes it and then thinks people like me are all crazy conspiracy theorists when we can prove and have proven time and time again that these are all government-created psychological operations. So you can look below the news clips. Let's start there to show you how the psychological operation works. These are comments from people underneath the video that I just played for you that was the NBC News propaganda clip, right? And then someone says, and that's the exact reason I don't go on cruise ships, this and other stuff, right? So here we have somebody who's literally afraid to go on a boat, afraid to leave their home, and they say other stuff, afraid to get on a plane because of all the propaganda and damage that has been done to their minds, the trauma, because really what happened with COVID was a form of trauma-based mind control on the masses to get you to live a certain way, not want to travel anymore. That's part of a New World Order and Agenda 2030, restricted travel, restricted movement. So instead of telling you can't go here or there, they're going to scare you into not wanting to go here or there, being afraid to fly. All these fake stories about planes crashing or planes touching, even recently the wheels of a plane skidding across a car. The stories get more and more unreal. Planes crashing into government, the DARPA helicopters, things that would never happen in a million years, making people more fearful to fly, all the stuff going on with the air traffic control. It's too dangerous. That's too dangerous. Why leave your home? Why not just stay home and just order everything on Amazon and be a prisoner in your home with all the technology you have in your home, which again is listening to you, monitoring you 24/7. So living life as a prisoner. So it's working, right? This person says that. Here's another person. This is why I don't do cruises. Not sure why anyone else still does, right? Because of viruses. Because, again, as I'll show you, the propaganda in the films, the predictive programming of viruses on planes, viruses on movies, keeping you still, keeping you controlled and quarantined in your prison home, right? There's always a nasty virus on those cruise ships, or someone is always falling overboard, says another person, and then you get this one, the best of the best. Nope, keep them on that ship. They should not be able to dock anywhere. Somebody who is so narcissistic that if there was really a virus out there, this person is so vain that they really don't care if the people on the cruise ship die because they don't want to get sick themselves. So they tell them to stay on that ship and don't ever get off that ship, right? So that's the mindset of our society today. That's how unhinged these people are. And the cruise ship with the hantavirus actually did finally dock. It headed to Canary Islands, which is fitting because this story is for the birds. And we had 3 people evacuated. And then as you start to read the headlines, you start to see where we're going, right? 23 hantavirus cruise passengers returned home to all corners, including to the U.S., right? So all the passengers on the ship, they've been placed in every single continent, every single place they could possibly go. They're surrounding us all over the earth, not just in America, in every country, in Europe, in Asia. They're everywhere, all corners of the earth, and already one person has gotten sick. And maybe the best part of all is, as you heard at the end of that clip, I put it in there deliberately for you at the beginning. If you didn't listen and you skipped through it, they're talking about quarantining 147 people. Supposedly are quarantined, 3 people dead, probably Jane Doe, John Doe, and George Glass. And the quarantine period is a 2-month quarantine, right? So see how they just keep moving these lines, right? Moving the goalposts, as they say. Right, the COVID quarantine tested out with 14 days. Some people were doing it to themselves multiple times, right? We saw in the news anchors doing newscasts from their home because they were quarantining. All the propaganda out there was absolutely hilarious for people who were awake, but obviously traumatizing for people who were asleep because it made them fearful to actually leave their home. And we still see these psychopaths, and that's what they are. They're psychotic. Their behavior is psychotic. People who are out there wearing masks still in 2026 because they haven't woken up yet, because they're in such a trance that they're still wearing masks, still thinking that mask helps, still thinking there's a virus going on out there. Meanwhile, they're holding their phones up to their head and continuing to expose themselves to the real disease out there, which are these EMF frequencies that are getting directed at our brains on a day in, day out basis. So how convenient that they've been saying over and over the next plandemic would be the hantavirus. Now, is this in? We don't know. We'll see how the media responds to it. And the media obviously goes off of how people respond. Because everything is a gauge. They test how people respond to these things. Are they panicking? Are they fearful? Are they calling us out for creating this, right? And there's going to be a mixture of a lot of different things. But is the next pandemic the hantavirus? Well, I'm sure it's a coincidence too. The World Health Organization just got done running another one of their emergency test runs, right, where they practice for tomorrow's emergencies. Who convenes countries and partners to simulate response to major disease outbreak, right? So that just finished up a few weeks ago. And of course, conveniently, this just happened right after. Kind of sounds like, what was it? Event 201, right? The convenient event that occurred right before we were all told that COVID is spreading around the world, and we were all told we couldn't get jobs if we didn't vaccinate. We weren't allowed to leave our home for months on end. Stores were closing at 6 o'clock at night. Pretty much we all had curfews. We all had to stay within 6 feet of one another if we wanted to actually leave our homes. You couldn't go to a store without these stupid things on the floor, which some places still have. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous, and it couldn't be more obvious. We see the same thing with the fake school shootings, right? Oh, how convenient. A drill was just run last week, or the drill is being run at the same time, right? Boston Marathon or September 11th, right? Oh, they were running a drill at the school, and then the school got shot up. Oh, how convenient, right? Because their drill is actually an active simulation of these events occurring. So again, we had the 33-day Atlantic Odyssey, and some of you may recall the first real reporting of the hantavirus in the United States of America was in 1993, the Four Corners hantavirus outbreak. And how many cases were there, supposedly confirmed cases? Of course, there was 33 confirmed cases when they did this test run back in 1993. And investigators, this is a story with this hantavirus on this cruise ship. Investigators believe the hantavirus outbreak originated in Argentina, likely introduced by a Dutch couple who contracted it from rodents during a pre-departure excursion in late March 2026. Of course, these ships are coming from places like Timbuktu or places that, Ushuaia, right? Because we're all, planning our next vacation. You're like, hey, should I go to the Caribbean? Should I go to Aruba? Should I go to the Bahamas? Should I go to Hawaii? Should I go on an Alaskan cruise? Well, now people are going on cruises to Ushuaia, right? Yeah, that's normal because, of course, they know that nobody's going to be able to trace if there was an actual cruise that left this place. Nobody's going to know any of the people on the cruise, of course, but they give you the blogger again, who, as I've said over the years, how amazing, right? We saw that news clip. You hear the person talk, and you could immediately say, "Oh, well, just based on the way he's speaking, we know that he packed fudge." Right? Isn't that crazy when we talk about this? How you know what someone's sexual orientation is or sexual preference is by the way that they talk, but that's not psychological, right? Crazy, isn't it? That they talk a certain way and then you can identify what they do in the bedroom. I mean, amazing. You have that little tone to your voice and you suddenly know, hey, well, this person, I know that they are into this, right? And then, of course, when you look up Jake Rosemarin, of course, when you see his Instagram account, travel, it shows up. How obvious is this? So they stuck this character on there, probably gave him a little boost, a promotion for his Instagram. Right? It'll go up from 43,000 to 100. I mean, that's the game we live in, right? How many subs you got? How many people follow you, right? Jake Roserman just happened to be on board this Ushuaia cruise ship, and his whole bio is about travel. So we're supposed to believe, because in case you ask questions about the validity of the story, well, he's on the cruise ship because he travels. He goes all over traveling. Nobody knows how he affords it, right? But he does that. And then, of course, when you go to his Instagram account, of course, right on top, you can see a man and a man proposing to one another, right? So how apropos and perfect. And of course, this plays right into the liberal fear. And I say liberal fear because we know most conservatives will not fall for any of this stuff with the vaccine, which is why Trump has been tippy-toeing around vaccines, which is why they've done this stuff with RFK and getting rid of vaccines. This is all to build trust for other agendas that they're moving forward with, like the data center stuff. Because if Trump was still talking about, like he did on day one when he came in testing the waters, a vaccine to cure cancer, well, he would have lost most of his support. It's the one area that Trump cannot go on the record anymore and discuss without losing his MAGA fan base. So that is why Trump does not do that. That is why the conservatives are not getting vaccines and stuff like that, pushing them, but they're pretending that they're getting away from vaccines and the government vaccines are dangerous and poisonous. They're trying it in different ways. But we know, of course, the Dems, the libs love the vaccines. They think that they're good for them, though they're the ones who are constantly getting boosted, right? So they give you this character, as they always do, that fits right into the lib, because we know most people who pack the fudge end up being lib as well. So how adorable, right on top of his Instagram account is him, somebody proposing him. So back to the story. Okay, experts suggest this mind-boggling quarantine period, which again will be 2 months long. And now they're talking about taking precautions with the hantavirus, things you could do to, we got to prevent. But how convenient that a few years ago, Moderna started working on an mRNA-based hantavirus vaccine, right? And that's the real bioweapon. When we talk about biological weapons, they're inside those shots, right? So Moderna has been working on an mRNA vaccine, so have no fear, the vaccine is near. So that's the reason that you hear the story. If you're asking, well, why would they make up a story about a cruise ship with the hantavirus spreading? Well, look at how people are responding. People are very upset. They don't want them off the ship, right? There's no vaccine yet, so don't let them off the ship. Oh, wait, here comes Moderna with the vaccine, the real bioweapon. Okay, let them off the ship. And then let's make everybody out there, since we stuck them all in the corners of the earth, let's make everybody out there get vaccinated so that we don't have to worry about getting the hantavirus, because that's how those people live, psychologically in fear. But the real bioweapons, again, are indeed the vaccines, and the predictive programming is off the charts. Movies like The X-Files, Fight the Future, right? Here's a scene where they're talking about the hantavirus and it being a bioweapon, huh? How's this for predictive programming?
They want to discredit you for what?
Because I'm a dangerous man, because I know too much about the truth.
Now that end-of-the-world apocalyptic garbage, you right?
You know my work? I was right about Dallas, wasn't I?
How were you right?
Are you familiar with the hantavirus, Agent Mulder?
Yeah, it was a deadly virus spread by field mice in the southwestern United States several years ago.
According to the newspaper, FEMA was called out to manage an outbreak of the hantavirus. Are you familiar with what the Federal Emergency Management Agency's real power is? FEMA allows the White House to suspend constitutional government upon declaration of a national emergency. Think about that. What is an agency with such broad sweeping power doing managing a small viral outbreak in suburban Texas?
You're saying it wasn't such a small outbreak?
No. I'm saying it wasn't the hantavirus.
Well, what was it? What was it?
When we were young men in the military, your father and I were recruited for a project. They told us it was biological warfare, a virus.
What killed those men?
What killed them, I won't even write about. We have no context for what killed those men, or any appreciation of the scale at which it'll be unleashed in the future.
A plague?
A plague to end all plagues, Agent Mulder. A silent weapon for a quiet war. The systematic release of an indiscriminate organism for which the men who will bring it on still have no cure. They've been working on this for 50 years. While the rest of the world have been fighting crooks and commies, these men have been secretly negotiating a planned Armageddon.
Negotiating with whom?
I think you know. The timetable has been set. It'll happen on a holiday when people are away from their homes. The president will declare a state of emergency, at which time all government, all federal agencies will come under the power of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, the secret government.
They call me paranoid.
Go back to Dallas, Agent Mulder, and dig. Or we're going to find out along with the rest of the country when it's too late.
And from there, of course, I mean, they couldn't be more in our faces. Silent weapons for quiet wars, right? A phrase that we often hear, a phrase that I often use, right? They're killing us with all these weapons that we can't see. Frequencies from 5G towers, EMF frequencies, microwaving us 24/7, giving us cancer, making us sick, giving people Alzheimer's and all these things. Nobody's going, why is there such a rise in all of these problems? Everybody's constantly sick. Oh, well, because they're hitting you with silent weapons, because you don't realize that we're in a quiet war. They have you thinking that the war is between two political parties, and if your neighbor's a Democrat and you're a Republican, that's the real war. No, it's the Democrats and the Republicans working together. Depopulation and killing us with things like, well, the things I just discussed, or how about you go to the grocery store and look at the chemicals on the side of the box? I mean, the ingredients, right? Oh, Cheerios, is this just oats? Is this what it is? It says it's oats. Oh, no, there's about 75 ingredients, all that you can't pronounce. It says Savafro, Vavapadipido. Might as well just say weed killer. Might as well just say cancer on the side of the box. But nobody looks. Nobody pays attention. It's like nobody looks up and sees all those chemtrails getting dumped on us every day that make us sick and ill and shield the sun and prevent us from getting vitamin D and so many other wonderful things that the government does. But we've seen, obviously, movies like Outbreak, movies like Contagion. I've covered this in the past. I'm sure you've all seen it. Many people have covered, obviously, the predictive programming with the COVID outbreak. And again, I've even covered this in a past video, but it's worth looking at. Again, Voyage of Terror, right? They were preparing people with this B-level movie, even though they have actors like Martin Sheen and Lindsay Wagner in it, and Brian Dennehy, right? These are all faces most people would recognize, but you could see from the acting in the trailer. It's one of the, well, it is total bootleg, straight to DVD, like when you're going to, you know, if you're on the road and you stop at a gas station to use the John or to pick up something inside, water or whatever, and you see the big bin of DVDs, or Walmart with the big $5, that's where this movie went directly there. But look at this plot. Is this predictive programming or is it not, with an outbreak on a cruise ship? And this, again, is how they program people, like we heard and saw in the beginning when I showed you those messages under the video. People, this is why I don't go on cruise ship. Oh, right, because they've been programmed into fear of a cruise ship, fear of flying, right? Because remember, part of Agenda 2030, part of the New World Order, is you will not be flying and traveling. And if you do, it's going to be limited. It's going to be rationed. You can only travel X amount of days, all for your carbon footprint, which is coming next. But part of that is getting you to not want to travel, because that makes it even easier for the government to manipulate you. So here's some clips from Voyage of Terror. Have a good laugh.
It was the perfect holiday, a chance for a mother and daughter to get reacquainted.
I mean, this is like the first time since I was a little girl that you and I have done anything together that lasted for more than an hour.
Aboard a majestic luxury liner, until it began, undetected.
Oh, an early flu, probably. Nothing to worry about.
It spread.
Come over here, I need help!
It is about to become...
What the heck's wrong with you? Get away from me!
An indiscriminate killer.
I'm in a little over my head. This is not an epidemic.
Do something! Why don't you do something?
Madam.
I'm Dr. Tober. Is there something I can do to help you?
Until it was too late.
I feel very good.
Now they have all been exposed.
Don't touch me!
To an outbreak.
This is Dr. Ellisy of the Center for Disease Control.
That has become an epidemic.
We have an emergency on the Orion Star.
A virus has turned this into a death ship.
The only way you're getting off this boat is in a body bag.
Threat immediate and deadly.
Let's get that ship quarantined.
Well, luckily we have one of our own on board.
My strength is in the lab.
That ship is going to become a lab, Stephanie. We need you.
She will have to take charge.
As of now, this is my ship. And you will do exactly as I say, or I will have you locked up. Is that clear?
And risk everything to save her fellow passengers.
If you stay scared, you'll stay safe.
But it's not just an epidemic.
National security is our top priority.
It's about to become an international incident.
We cannot allow that ship to reach international waters.
You talk to Susan. She and Randy have a plan to get out of here.
A crisis.
Come on!
Where innocent victims...
This is the Coast Guard. You are in violation of quarantine.
...quickly become casualties. A medical emergency.
So if they make a run for it, we sink the ship.
Voyage of Terror.
So, I mean, it's pretty hilarious, right? The outbreak on the ship, not letting the people off the ship sounds similar, right? Don't let them off the ship, right? Then it turns into an action movie somehow, which I don't even need to get into, but don't let them off the ship, right? Which was the theme. And now they're off the ship and everybody's in an uproar that we let them off the ship. How could we let them off the ship? And then on top of that, we shipped it to all corners of the earth so it could spread into every single country. And of course, we've stretched the goalposts on the quarantine being 2 months now from 14 days, and everybody seems fine with it. So all of the same things are there. They did a test run, the World Health Organization. They've been telling you the next pandemic is coming. And of course, they have a vaccine ready to go very, very soon. People like you beg for it. Come on, Moderna, release that mRNA vaccine so you could gene edit me and turn me into a different species. Come on, please send it out. Right? How convenient that that's the one that Moderna's been working on for the last couple of years, the Hanta virus vaccine. So make people fearful, tell people stories about how it's spreading, make people think that they could catch it, conveniently come out with an mRNA vaccine don't push it too heavily in the media because I don't think they'll go over the top with telling everybody how they have to live their lives again. But they know that at least 50% of the population, the Democrat people, will go and get this hantavirus vaccine, because we've heard stories about these people just not feeling well and then deciding to go and get flu shots and deciding to go and get COVID boosters. I mean, that's how insane they are. So they will willingly oblige to it, and they know that 50% of the other side will not, so they have to work different ways to get them to get this gene editing procedure, let's call it that, done to themselves. And obviously there's going to be a lot of stuff that they have to do to get underneath the skin, but we know that there's smart dust and all other things that they use on all of us every single day to get under our skin. So we had the predictive programming with the X-Files and the hantavirus bioweapon. And of course, we have the common predictive programming with the cruise ship itself, the Voyage of Terror. More like the Voyage of the Psyop, which we're on a day-to-day basis living in this world, because every single story could not be more fabricated. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families, as always.